You know what we call this in the United States? God's ketchup, right there.
I've never heard that before. I think he just made it up.
Is this how the other half lives all the time?
One of those things just never happened.
When somebody rips one, you know it, and it's not yours.
It was like Bugs Bunny when you like smelled the carrot soup.
That is the most random thing. What are you talking about?
It's impossible.
Summer is over and the OverSeasoned podcast is back. I'm here with Tony. This is X, and
Where have you been all summer? What have you been doing? It's been a long time.
I've had a pretty busy summer. And I feel like I haven't talked to you as a friend because I've been saving so many stories for you. Did a little Spain time, but currently I visited Curacao. I mean, I've had a fun summer, but now I'm currently in Argentina, and trust me, I can't wait now that we've got our little setup, our little our riverside setup. There's going to be a lot to talk to you about, Tony. I hope you're ready for a lot of complaining.
I'm ready. Bring it on.
All right. So the first one I want to bring up to you. So, okay. I feel like respect, right, is such like a food. It's like a restaurant food thing. No? Respect. I'm talking respect for the guest, respect for your recipes, respect for the ingredients. No? And I feel like one of the things,
we joked
yes.
about this so much with our work providing services to restaurants. How the hospitality stops at the door, right? As soon as you're a contractor to the restaurant, it's like they get to work the other side of that coin, right?
And trust me, many people often forget the importance of this very small detail.
It's not hospitality across the board. It's the guests soak it all up, of course, as it should be. But the contractors, you get it all the time.
Well, sure do. And so let me tell you a little story that leads into a very interesting experience I had, Tony. I've been very excited to share this with you because it's just a funny one. All right, so about a year ago, I go into a Sarasota restaurant. It's actually a great restaurant. It's called Veronica. And I noticed a very specific dish. And like from cookbooks and just from your life experience, how specific, like dishes, like for example, Alfred Portale, right? I say that to you. Do you happen to have like a dish from Gotham that maybe comes to mind?
I'm thinking of some. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So the first one I think of is that tuna tartare he did in the stack with like the little thinly sliced cucumbers that were around the base of the dish.
I don't remember that one specifically, but I remember like a braised lamb dish I used to get down in Gotham a long time ago.
Okay. So, like I feel like when we were growing up in the industry, there was like dishes and cookbooks and chefs that all just came together, right? And there's like certain dishes like the miso black cod. I say that's Nobu, right? Like there's just dishes.
Signature dishes.
Correct. Yeah. Or like that pizza that Wolfgang Puck used to make with like I think creme fraiche and smoked salmon. He had his California thing, right? So anyway, I go into this restaurant in Sarasota and I feel like there's a blatant taking of a dish. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of chefs who've done this, who essentially just look at the cookbook, maybe go eat at the restaurant one time, and straight up fucking completely steal the dish, and then act like they're idiots, like they act stupid when somebody savvy enough to bring it up asks, hey, is this inspired by X, Y, Z?
This is bringing up a lot of old conversations we probably had in the past, and probably some of our old podcasts too, where it's like and I'm remembering vaguely, gosh, what was it? Like some chef from Australia who came up and worked at a lot of restaurants in New York City. They went down to Australia and just basically recreated the dishes from like WD-50 and stuff like that.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it has to be, and this can kind of cross some lines because I'm also remembering a story when there was a sous chef from a restaurant in New York City who worked at Mary's Fish Camp, I believe, and then stole the Caesar salad recipe to go work at his new restaurant. Right? So there's some dishes like a Caesar salad theft. of recipe
Come on.
versus, something that's using 18 different,
Yeah.
chemical ingredients to make a foie gras pretzel, right? That is more akin to, the IP, if we will, of a restaurant chef.
It's a very interesting point, right? Yes, it just happens all the time, right? And we're all guilty of it.
What happens all the time? Well, no, I mean, it happens, but that's what I mean. There's a line between like you're ripping off, and I don't like to use that word necessarily, but you're emulating the exact dish versus taking like what you've learned from a restaurant. Look, nobody's working
And
at these
applying
restaurants
your
for money.
personality to it. Right.
Right.
Fair.
You go to work there to like gain the knowledge to then go off and, these little minute changes along the way end up turning it into your dish down the road. Like even if you change whole country, like from New York to Australia, for example, things are a little bit different. Ingredients are a little bit different. It turns into a new dish. Right. It's like the clientele is different. They might have different expectations or different requests, or like it hot instead of cold.
Or a different
like
fish you're using.
Pickles instead of cucumbers. And you make these little adjustments on the way. So you're like learning from these places and gaining the experience of their cuisine, as it were, but not actively recreating the exact dishes. Well, like if you take like a Thomas Keller's like roasted chicken recipe from the book that is published, right?
Okay.
Why can't you use that in your restaurant? I mean, sure, maybe give some props and stuff, but it's not as if you're ripping it off, but you learned and are paying homage to that dish by representing it on your menu.
Well, and it's a great point you make too, because if you remember during the La Colombe opening of that Fishtown beautiful distillery and their first real food kind of restaurant we did, I remember how much JP was in love with that roasted chicken from Zuni Cafe. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah,
and he wanted to do that bread salad and all that. And we literally helped put it all together. I remember you going into the recipe and helping adjust it for that type of production with the wood burning oven they had and all. But we called it Judy's roasted chicken with Judy's bread salad. It was straight up like an homage to the chef. Well, and I think that's the right way to do it when you're literally trying to, let's say, like emulate the entire dish, right?
Sure, it comes with a lot of responsibility too. That you have to get it right? Like you have to get it right and truly pay homage. And what was that bread salad? It was bread. I had it once. I seem to remember. I had it once in the restaurant. I remember there was like currants in it. I
finally got to go. Yeah, it was like currants in there and arugula. I went like this past year when I went to San Francisco. I'm like, I finally have to make it to Zuni. And I went, it was like the roasted chicken, which was delicious, brined, of course. And one of the things that I remember about that recipe was like there was ground mustard, either in the brine or in the rub or something. That really set it off in a way that I was surprised by, because I've never really used dry mustard.
Javi likes a little mustard all of a sudden. Who would have thought it?
It's you got to evolve as a person. So as an eater. Well, so check this out. So I go into this restaurant in Sarasota. Great restaurant, delicious, beautiful raw bar. And one of the things they had on their menu was a shrimp cocktail. And I think shrimp cocktail is always an easy thing to share. I was with a buddy. We got a shrimp cocktail. We got a bunch of oysters. Well, anyway, a very specific...
This is to share if there's an even amount of pieces. If there's 5 pieces, what do you do?
Well, this is also getting to this. Oh. So very often a shrimp cocktail, classically, right? I think we can all agree, is like a poached shrimp that's then accompanied by a side of cocktail sauce. Well, right? Maybe a lemon on the side, whatever. In this case, the shrimp cocktail was fucking already like tossed into this cocktail sauce. And a very interesting and weird ingredient made it into the cocktail sauce: pickled mustard seeds. Now check this out. In all the eating I have ever done in my whole fucking life, I've only ever seen pickled mustard seeds in one version of a cocktail sauce, ever. And that was Mark Forgione's at American Cut, which I fucking worked at for almost 3 years. So I get this dish, and even the setup, like how it was, like everything about the dish was like, oh, I'm right back at work because I fucking spieled this dish to 1,000 tables, right? And this dish comes, and I'm like, this looks oddly familiar. And then I had a bite of shrimp, and I'm like, is there pickled mustard seeds in there? And the reason that all came back to me is because I didn't like it. I didn't like this. I love Mark, and I love his food. I just didn't love the pickled mustard version of cocktail sauce that made its way.
Wasn't there something
served.
with Taleggio on that menu too that like would waft across the kitchen when you were?
That was at the Chop House, and that's a whole
different story.
play.
Okay, I'll save it for another one.
Yeah, so I get this shrimp cocktail that is very peculiar because have you ever had a shrimp cocktail with pickled mustard seeds in the cocktail sauce?
Don't believe so. I don't think I've ever had pickled mustard seeds in any kind of cocktail sauce. It's not cocktail
Neither
sauce.
have I.
You need to call it something different, you know?
Yeah, like cocktail gerbiche or something. Anyway, dude, I got this dish and my first response was, this is Mark's shrimp cocktail. And what's funny is Mark decided that he wanted to make his homage to St. Elmo's Steakhouse, which is some Indianapolis steakhouse I've never been to, but they make this crazy spicy cocktail sauce, and they also pre-toss the shrimp in the cocktail sauce. It's like literally like a little silver dish bowl that remains cold with crushed ice underneath with all the shrimp cocktail and the stuff all mixed in. Anyway, he's like, I love that shrimp cocktail. It's their most famous dish. It's my homage to that. I'm adding pickled mustard seeds to make it my own and to add some texture. And I'm like, wow, it would have been great without the pickled mustard seeds. Anyway, I get the same exact dish at this restaurant, and I was like, never seen that before, but I have, right? It's like, and so the meal finishes. It was a great meal. I like the restaurant very much, Veronica. But I then started to look around the dining room and started noticing little things that reminded me of Mark Forgione and of his cookbook. And I was like, So I literally went to the line. I remember
You walked back in the kitchen and started asking questions?
They had like a Texas toast on their menu, which I had never seen Texas toast applied to a fine dining-ish kind of setting until I saw it there. Mark had a chili lobster dish with Texas toast. And, there was just little things I started noticing come up. And I don't know if you remember Pet. He had or may still have this amazing Cambodian restaurant in New York that
I haven't been in years, but I don't know if it's still there. But
me neither. It was a great restaurant. And Pet's an incredible chef. Anyway, based on his background in Cambodian food and stuff, Mark was also playing around with a lot of Asian touches and dishes. They worked together for quite a long time. And anyway, I saw a lot of flourishes on this menu. So the whole point that I get to is I go to the chef because I'm going to the bathroom, and on the way to the bathroom is the line. Like you literally pass the line to get to the bathroom. And I happen to see the chef, and the chef's like, hey, how was your meal? I'm like, dude, I had a great meal. But I have to ask, is there some inspiration from Mark Forgione on some of these dishes? Face goes white. Then it goes from white to angry. And he's like, I've been a chef for a long time, and these are my dishes.
Oh, he knew exactly what you're talking about.
That's correct. I think so. All right. And in that moment, I'm like,
I mean, it was very defensive, you're saying?
It was pretty defensive.
Well, you
it was
also had some fucking balls that just go for it. Like you were trying to you were going for it.
Honestly, look, as a restaurant brethren, I feel like for me, the response I was going for, I would have expected would have been like, oh, what dish? Oh, yeah. Or who's Mark Forgione? Right? Like that's, I don't know. I was expecting more of a collaborative response. Like, oh, yeah, man, I really like blah, 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 or whatever. Instead, it was just like, no. And it was a coy response. Like, no, these are all my dishes. And I want to be like, maybe you and Mark Forgione had the same bad dream where it's appropriate to add pickled mustard seeds to a cocktail sauce. Doesn't seem right, though, to me. Anyway, so then I left.
It's interesting how that one ingredient it wasn't just the ingredient, right? It was the preparation at the same time. So Correct. It's kind of going deep there, right?
It's also like there's only 2 shrimp cocktails I've ever seen in my life that are pre-tossed. I feel like that's very...
Was
that's
the tail still? Was the tail still on them? And they're pre-tossed. They took the tail off and pre-tossed it. Okay. If the tail isn't on, is that a shrimp cocktail?
I don't know. It's not. It's just a shrimp
could be a
cock.
differentiator.
It's just at that point. So anyway, so I leave this experience in this interaction, and I started to wonder to myself, at what point is it appropriate to be like, hey, this is Thomas Keller's roasted chicken? Or is it just like, or like, how much information should you share specific to the dish and its presentation on your menu? Well, fast forward a year later, and I'm in Bogota just like about a month ago, and decided I wanted to try, since we're staying in a new hotel up in Usaquén, in the northern part of Bogota. I saw a restaurant that was doing like like a little fusion Japanese restaurant, right? And I'm like, close to the hotel, I want to go check it out, right? I'm looking through the menu and stuff, and one of the first things I notice is on the menu at this, it looked like a pretty acclaimed restaurant. I'll find you some details in a second. But I'm looking through the menu, and one of the appetizers says Nobu's new style sashimi, right? And I was like, holy shit. Number one, I think we all went through our Nobu phase. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you did, but I certainly did. I got the cookbook. There were certain dishes that were like his signatures. I talked about the black cod. He had this rock shrimp tempura. And in this specific case, my favorite dish of his is what he called new style sashimi, which essentially was a crudo or a sashimi, thin sliced on a plate, hit it with a touch of ponzu, which now has become ubiquitous, but back then was cool. Hit it with ponzu, hit it with chive, hit it with shallot, right? And it would be thin sliced yellowtail, or it would be thin sliced any kind of white fish like Suzuki, whatever. But the kicker...
Like a carpaccio.
Like a carpaccio, correct. Yes. But the kicker was, at the end, right before serving it, they would hit it with this super hot sesame oil. And you know what I mean? And the thing was, he said, in the early days of the Nobu restaurant he opened in Malibu, so few people were comfortable eating raw fish that he decided to develop this new style sashimi to make people less intimidated by a big plate of raw fish. This was in the early 90s, right? And so it became his signature because it was a way to give it a little slight sear on the outside, but underneath it was raw, right?
And still delicious.
And so, dude, the first time I had it was at Morimoto restaurant in Philadelphia. I happened to go there, and they had new style sashimi on the menu, and I said, what the hell is new style? And then the server went into this whole deep story, being very clear that Morimoto used to be the chef of like Nobu's first or second, third opening, right? And that he loved that dish so much that he brought it with him, and he gave all the praise to Nobu as the inventor of the dish, right? But it didn't say Nobu. In this case, I go to this restaurant and it says Nobu's, like as in, okay, somebody used to work at Nobu or something that's putting like it, when you this blatantly put it on the menu, I'm assuming it's going to be the original version.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Bro, it was so, and I've had this dish in I've had it at Nobu now. I've had it at Morimoto, and I've done it at home because I love the dish so much, right? Trying to emulate it exactly as prepared. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, it's thinly sliced sashimi. It is a little bit of ponzu. It is chives and sesame seeds toasted on top, and then you hit it with the hot oil, right? And shallot, like a little shallot. It's a simple, beautiful dish. Mm-hmm. I go to this place, I order it. And I'm like excited because I'm like, all right, this is going to be a little bit comforting, and I can't wait to see what this looks like. It was the fucking furthest thing from the dish that is Nobu's sashimi. I went in there with this expectation that this was going to be a proper homage. And I'm like, how respectful for them to even call it out. It says Nobu's fucking new style sashimi, right? And I'm like, how cool is this? What an homage, how sweet. I think these guys are the shit. I'm going in here with all these preconceived notions of what this restaurant's all about. And I'm like, I think it's badass that they actually put it on the menu so that you know. Then I got the dish and I'm like, oh my God, this is not the fucking dish. Not only is this not the dish, this is an abomination of that dish. And guess what? If I worked at Nobu and I saw that somebody put that on the menu, first I'd say, oh, that's nice of them to give the props. But then I would order it and be like, oh my God, get my fucking name off this dish. So I explained the original one, right? This this version of Nobu's new style sashimi that we got was the following: sliced octopus, probably some sliced whitefish like escolar or something. I think some tuna, some salmon. It was all tossed in like a soy and wasabi vinaigrette. It was topped off with like thinly sliced radishes and micro herbs. And was the dish good? It was a solid dish. I'm not complaining about that. But it had nothing, absolutely nothing to do.
It's just like kind of a mixed seafood tartare, sounds like, in a way.
It was like a mixed seafood tartare. And when I got this dish, the moment it hit the table, I was like, I gotta tell Tony about this because one, it was such a 180 of an experience. I went in there with high hopes. I went in there with a respect for the chef. I went in there with like this, like just admiration for the honesty, for all that, right? And it went the other way. I was like, how the fuck did you put this guy's name on this?
But
this is not the dish.
You know how this stuff works out. This menu could have been put up 2 years ago or whatever. They've gone through 3 different chef changes since that happened. Everyone's just putting up their own little spin on the dish as it goes, and it becomes completely transformed from the original intention. I'm guessing that's one thing that may have happened. You know what I mean? And then they don't want to reprint the menus because whatever.
There's 1,000 of them to reprint.
Right.
But how would you feel? Your signature dish.
If I'm Nobu, I don't care. I think I'm okay. I think I'm not going to worry.
If you're
too much
Nobu,
about it.
you're way beyond giving a fuck about it.
Yeah.
Well, dude, then it comes to me. It's like, who's I guess it's nobody's responsibility, right? Like, but I don't know. I felt duped. I felt betrayed. I felt like my respect for the restaurant went from 100 to like, how dare you? You went full Karen mode. Dude, of course, I didn't complain about it, and of course,
Wait, the last place you go up to the chef and you're like, hey, where'd you get this dish? Looks like Mark Fargione's kind of thing going on. What's going on here? But this place, you're not gonna go there? Or what made you not have the...
Oh, well, look, I mean, at the first place, I saw
march it back to the kitchen. This is not Nobu's dish. Where's the hot sesame oil? Where's the little finely the minced shallot?
It didn't even have the most important component, which was the hot sizzling oil over top. It didn't even have that.
Mm-hmm. Which was the whole point of the dish. And it's funny, I was getting a thought about something like the reason it was new style sashimi was it was made for that specific American market, right? It wasn't Nobu just coming up with this new style of sashimi. It's like, how do I sell some shit? How do I sell raw fish to people who won't eat raw fish, right? So it's a very specific, almost like anthropologic deconstruction of a dish like this. It happened because the clientele demanded it in a way, or because I need to turn a buck and people aren't buying the sashimi as it is, so we're going to adjust it. It sounds like a great dish. I'm glad it took, but when you transpose that to a completely different culture, the ideas are, look, we work within 3 different countries.
Yeah.
You say things that have different meaning, they just take different things and in different ways, right? So it's interesting that a different country would have such a interesting approach.
I agree. And here's what I'd like to show you, Tony.
I bet that dish has changed 5 times since they put it on the menu. That's what I think. I think every sous chef that got in there made their little tweaks until it becomes like a departure from what the original dish was.
I'm going to show you the original first, Tony. Now that we've got this fancy new platform. Do you see this?
Oh yeah, you sent me that photo. Yeah, it's nice.
All right, so this is the original dish. So we're looking at
Nobu
batons of chive. This is the original Nobu dish. As you can see here, it looks like they have like a little kettle, like a little tea kettle. And
it looks so old school. That like perfect,
yeah,
it's like very nouvelle cuisine.
Yes.
What's that in the middle? Like a kumquat?
It looks like a little pickled kumquat, or like a gooseberry even, because it's got like a little. But ultimately,
no, it's what are the plums called? What are the plums called?
Oh, like an omabashi or something like omabashi.
Yeah, omabashi, something like that, perhaps.
So what we're looking at is thinly sliced salmon in this case, because they're calling it new style sashimi, new style salmon sashimi. So it looks like some thinly sliced salmon with some sesame seeds on top. It's got batons of chives on it. It's like very like classically in a circle laid out. And then over top, you see that they're pouring the hot oil in it. You could tell that there's also already ponzu lightly dressing the dish, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the classic, right? Now, what I want to show you is the new style from the Bogota Japanese restaurant, and I want to get your immediate reaction. All right, Let's see here. The new style. Let's see here. All right, so we're gonna share. All right, let's see here. Oh, here we go. Okay, look at that thing.
Oh, looks like a soup. Oh, sorry. But the fish is all on top of the cucumber slices,
and
right?
the other one doesn't have cucumbers.
We're looking at some fanned out cucumbers with a melange of seafood on top, but it looks poached. It doesn't look raw, does it?
It wasn't raw. It was 100% poached.
Okay, so all poached ahead of time, like it's a seafood salad. You would never. So it's completely like turned upside down type of dish to be considered the same, except for the shape.
It is yes. Well, let's start with there's no hot oil. There was no hot oil, right? Then there is majority fanned out cucumber instead of actual just sashimi. There's no sashimi on the entire plate. No. There's none. There's no sashimi, right?
There's sesames, not sesame oil.
There's sesames, there's not sesame oil. This to me is more like a Japanese tartare, Japanese ceviche, because all of the items are chopped. Now, for those who can't see this dish, these are not the same dish. One, I would say, is, like I said, like a Japanese ceviche. It is cured seafood on top of cucumber. The other dish with like a dressing, right? And the other dish is literally just a plate of sashimi with a couple of garnishes on top. Anyway, I wanted to share this with you, Tony, because it started out me thinking, what a fucking sharp, smart, like, respectful restaurant. And then I got the dish and I'm like, this is so disrespectful. This is not the dish. And then it got me thinking, you know what? I went 180 in this whole experience because it started out with me thinking, that's how restaurants should do it. That's how you're going to take a dish.
Because
you know what? Put the person's name on the dish.
You've had this previous experience, right? Where you're like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a very dangerous path to go down. It's a very dangerous path to go down. Copying, and I use that term loosely because it really depends on the dish, right? If you're copying a dish or not, I think, like, as I was saying, like, we all work at these restaurants for the knowledge and for the understanding and for everything that you work for a chef, not for the fat paycheck, right? You work to get their experiences. You're being paid an experience.
Yes.
half of it, right? So
Yeah.
now when it kind of turns a corner is when you replicate the dish precisely without that kind of a call
Without
out,
real.
we'll say. But also,
Well, and-
it gets really, really dicey because if he would have put Mark Forgione's, shrimp cocktail on the menu, you have got to then replicate that dish exactly and make sure it's up to snuff all the time. And
You almost got to call Mark to make sure it's like, hey, is this the right thing? Is this it?
yeah, you got to give him a cut, 5% of sales or something like that. It reminds me of a restaurant I was thinking about years and years and years ago to like only do those kinds of dishes. Like I forget what I was going to call it.
Cookbook repeats or something like that.
Yeah. Like it was called Homage or something like that to like just do this dish and this dish. And I thought it could have been a lot of fun as like a very chefy insidery thing, but as most ideas go.
And now you can see the downfall of that because, I went from high levels of respect for this restaurateur and chef to
Yeah, but dude, you know how these I can almost guarantee that dish started as one thing and then another GM came in, will not pick on the chefs the whole time, and said it'd be a lot better if the fish was on top of the cucumbers versus because someone complained from a completely different culture or some wait staff burnt a customer with the hot oil.
with the hot oil.
You could see a million different things could have happened.
Listen, of
and then no one
course.
just updates the menu, and it all comes down to your disappointment. I'm very
Bro.
sorry.
I am so disappointed. Imagine somebody saying, hey, I'm doing Tony's chimichurri, Tony Ayazi's chimichurri.
Don't even make
But
that.
but
attempt.
then you come up and there's no chopped onion in it. Or chopped shallot,
I like to think about the legions of customers who think they're getting a Nobu dish and they love it, right?
Yes!
They love it. Then they go to
And
a
then they
real
go to
Nobu
Nobu.
restaurant. They're like, "What the fuck is this? Where's
Right.
the cucumber?
Where's the
plant
fucking
out?
dressing?
Where's the poached octopus?" Yeah.
And that, my friends, is another reason to be overseasoned. Because when you start knowing what dishes belong to who and what the right way to do them is, and you don't get that, and it just completely turns your Saturday experience into an upside down happy smile, it turns into a frown. That's when you know you're overseasoned. Anyway, I wanted to share with you. I think the moral of the story here is what I thought was an excellent and respectful move to put the chef's name on a dish turned out to be the exact opposite, an abomination.
I think it would be very, very difficult
miss.
to continue to replicate. I mean, you'd have to be so careful, like more careful than with your own dishes. You know what I mean? On the menu, you'd have to be like pretty exact. I think it's dangerous territory to get into.
At all. Yeah, so I think the moral of the story is don't put a chef's name on your menu, ever. I went from thinking it was the classiest move of all time to now realizing that was a fucking mistake. And to your point, think about all those fucking Rolos from Bogota that show up in Malibu, Nobu, and like the dish is wrong. Can you imagine?
I can. And then if you are going to, use your knowledge to like recreate a dish for a restaurant, go with there's little adjustments that come up along the way, right? There's just little things. It could be as basic as like the oven's over here and the cutting board's over here, so we have to do this here. It's a kitchen takes on the life of its own, right? It's very, very difficult to recreate. You have to work hard to recreate a dish precisely as it was in another place when you're in a completely different organization. That's a lot of work. There's a lot of variables at play there. The local purveyor has different mustard seeds or different vinegars.
Or you can't get a certain
or whatever.
fish.
You know what I mean?
Or maybe that one day, maybe it is an exact copy, but no sesame oil was delivered that day, so they just made their own adjustment that do poached seafood today. It's not like somebody from OverSeasoned's coming to do an episode about this.
Little do they know. Well, we're going to find you. We're going to find you, no matter where you are.
We're definitely going to find you, and I'm never going to find that restaurant again because I was so.
But you had a good time. It was okay. But you're hurt on like kind of a.
Flabbergasted, Tony.
But you ate it. You didn't march out. You didn't march back to the kitchen like the other place and say, "What is this?" You ate it. You paid the bill. Was the rest of the menu nice?
It was a very good meal. It wasn't a very good meal. It was a good meal. It was fresh seafood. It was, one of these places that has like lumpia and like nigiri. You know what I mean? That was probably my first sign that I should turn the fuck around. Like when you take the liberty to put a Filipino dish and a Japanese dish on the same menu, that's your first signal. I didn't take that signal. I went deeper into the rabbit hole, and look what happened. The rabbit hole spit me the fuck out, slapped me around a little bit, and set us up for some good content. So I hope all of you are excited to have us back. We are excited to be back. Now that we've figured out our remote recording situation, hope you can look forward to a little bit of an OverSeasoned more often. And just so you guys know, we are doing OverSeasoned TV. We're all over the place. Tony and I's adventures take us to interesting places. We've done some awesome chef interviews. And since I'm now in Argentina, I think it's a great time to say we got some really cool content coming out about Argentina, including we visited this awesome charcuterie producer. You can actually see Tony in the flesh cooking and rocking out on a gaucho grill. It's not in the flesh. It's online. Well, right, okay. You can see Tony, the likeness of Tony.
This is like you're coming at you live when it's a recorded session.
Coming at you live, but it was a lot of fun. And so anyway, hop on YouTube, OverSeasoned TV, and you can see a lot of great content that we've recorded just for you guys. Because
I wasn't invited down this time. I wasn't invited down to your current Argentine trip.
Well, it's because I wanted to make sure that all the dishes on menus that call out a specific chef, I want to make sure that we hash those out first before you come down and are disappointed, Tony.
We never got billed for that like door we broke the last time we were there, did we? Because the gaucho is so. Oh yeah, okay. The gaucho I think that'll be in one of the videos that's coming up.
Yeah, we definitely had an adventure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us, and we will be back more and more often.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
OverSeasoned podcast was brought to you by Over Easy Office, outsourced bookkeeping solution.